students. I just completed the test review with the first group this morning, and there were a lot of questions about the checkoff tomorrow, so I thought I'd post a quick video to talk about that and also give you an update on some of the things that are coming up later on in the semester. So if you haven't noticed already, there is a schedule posted. So look under the tab for the bedside assessment competency and you'll find your scheduled time. You'll have 15 minutes to actually complete your assessment. So I want you to come maybe about 10 minutes early, because prior to that, I'll have you go down and wait outside of the door, and on the door is the patient scenario. So you can take notes about the patient. There'll be vital signs listed. You do not need to take vital signs. However, I do want you to discuss what the vital signs are with the patient and what they might mean. So again, you won't need to take vital signs, but that's something that you're going to want to jot down from the report that will be posted on the door. Be sure to bring your rubric and go ahead and put your name on it. I can't tell you how many times students show up, hand me a blank rubric, and then I hand it to the grader in the control room, and they have no idea who you are, because what we'll do is we'll have 2 lab rooms running, and the faculty kind of rotate. So it may not be your lab faculty that's doing your assessment. So be sure that you put your name on the rubric so that we make sure we know who you are when you go into the room. When you go into the room, you'll be the only person there other than the mannequin. And what we want you to do is interact and talk with the mannequin, but there are some things that the mannequin cannot do. So this morning the student was asking about assessing things like strength or range of motion. And what I recommend that you do is have the normal variations in your mind so that you can place your fingers in the mannequin's hands and say hand grips are strong and equal bilaterally. Range of motion is full without limitation. Because you can't perform this test on the mannequin, but I want you to verbalize what your findings would be. Another example would be cap refill. I want to see you actually palpating the mannequin's fingernails, and then I would expect you to say cap refill is less than 3 seconds. And so the other thing about this, and this was brought up this morning, that the students say that they haven't received a real face-to-face demonstration of the bedside assessment in lab from some faculty. Actually, that's a good thing, because for every single nurse, there is a different way of performing this assessment. We all end up assessing the same things, but we do it in different ways and in a different order. And it's fine for you to do that during your checkoff too. You do not have to do it exactly like the video. But the checkoff sheet is based on the video. And I think it's better to have one standard instead of each individual faculty showing you something slightly different. That tends to get confusing. So I want you to rely on the video. I think it's a better resource because you can watch it as many times as you want. You can rewind it, watch it again. You can make sure that you're hitting all the points, and she shows you exactly how to do it. So that's my philosophy on that. Having said that, I will be responsible for answering questions related to whether or not we count something or not. I don't want you to have the fear that you're going to be graded by someone that hasn't worked with you, because the standard is going to be the same for all students, and I get the final say. So don't worry that someone is grading you. The faculty, if they have a question, or if I have a question about what you did from them, we'll discuss it, and then we'll make a decision on whether it counts as assessing that parameter or not. Remember, you only have to make 80%, and this process should be pretty intuitive, okay? So you should be able to go from head to toe and kind of figure out what you want or need to do, and whatever order you do it in is fine. In fact, if you have extra time at the end, it's okay for you to stand there for a minute to make sure you've hit everything that you want to hit. Let's see. So in addition to bringing the rubric with your name already on it, you can also bring a pencil and a blank piece of paper, because you might want to take or jot down a few things during the course of your exam. What I don't want you to do is stop and write down everything, because you'll never get through your bedside assessment in 15 minutes, and it's not really what you would do in practice. So you'll have some paper there so you can take notes from the patient scenario that's posted on the door, but you shouldn't need to write down very much, because what I want to see you do is go through the process and collect information. If there is something abnormal, it will be obnoxiously blatant. So if there's an abnormal breath sound, it should be evident. This is not meant to trick you. We just want to see that you have some sort of system for doing an organized assessment of your patient. All right, so of course there is no class this week. We'll spend the whole time doing our checkoffs, and I will post those grades later in the day. If you need to repeat, then I think on the calendar I have it marked for when I would like you to come back and do that assessment again, and I would expect you to make an appointment with me and practice directly with me between now and then, so that we can be sure that you're prepared. Next week is week 12, and this will be back to a pretty typical format for this course. You'll be reading the mobility and the neuro chapters, and we'll be completing those assessments on TINA and practicing those in lab, as well as completing SimChart. So next week will be our last time to do any SimChart documentation. So if you've gotten behind on that, go ahead and get caught up, because you will be submitting that by Friday of next week for grading. Your lab faculty will be grading that, so as long as you've done what your lab faculty has told you to document, you should be fine. Let's see, week 13. Week 13 is your group presentations, and what we'll do is we'll come to class at the regular time, and we'll have the groups present. I've given you 15 minutes for each group. There is a rubric associated with the directions, so if you haven't seen the point allocations, those are out there on the rubric now, and you can take a look at those. I would expect by now that you are completing steps 5 and 6. So tomorrow, since there's no new content and no lab, if you have the opportunity, I would want you to meet with your group members and make sure that you've got everything done for that, so that you're not scrambling at the last minute deciding who's doing what. All right, so that leads us to week 14. Now, week 14, which is the 15th of April, that week we have our third test. And one of the things I wanted to say about the test is be sure that when you're studying for this test, that you realize that this topic, health assessment, is really not a conceptual topic. So you're going to need some different study skills for this content than you use for Nursing 100. And that's one reason why I allow you to have a crib sheet, because there are some things that you just have to know, and they're very specific information. I try to point those things out to you either in class or through the guides and the vocabulary words, or another way that you can tell what's important to know or understand. But I plan to put another study guide together, and you should look at that very carefully. I'll make sure I get it out at least a week in advance. So that's week 14. That week is also a week where you're going to be out with a partner completing a home visit. So you can choose anyone that you want to choose to visit. It can be a family member. Someone this morning said she had a grandmother who would be perfect. But it needs to be someone over the age of 65 or under 18. So we're looking at a range in our population, and you can pick either. If you're going to visit, I'll put up a rubric for this, but this is just FYI, because some students were wondering what the heck was happening the last 2 weeks of class. So during week 14, what you can do is, along with your partner, you'll visit this person that you've chosen. You'll follow the rubric, collect the information, and hopefully you'll discover a health promotion issue that needs to be addressed. And then what I want you to do is, working with your partner, I want you to come up with a health promotion teaching plan so that you can provide evidence-based information to your patient about some things that they can do to improve their health or make them safe. I think safety is a really easy one to do. Both ends of the spectrum, you can do medication safety, you can do a medication inventory, you can look for expired medications, you can look at placement of meds and accuracy, is the patient able to read them? If not, what can you do about that? So that's just an example of what you can do. The other thing that you can do safety-wise would be related to things like car seat safety, that's for the younger. You could do things for the older adult, environmental safety, how to go up and down stairs, how to limit your fall risk through removal of rugs and things like that. But I'm going to ask you to create a plan and actually submit your plan to me. And again, that rubric will be coming, but that's what you'll be doing. So I've designed it so that you can spend 3 hours week 14 and 3 hours week 15. So it gives you an entire week in order to get this done. But you don't have to make your home visits that far apart. If you would like to visit someone on Monday and go back on Friday, that's fine. Okay? So it doesn't have to be an entire week apart. It needs to be several days apart so that you can be sure that you work on your teaching plan and come up with something that's really valuable for your client. And if you do it that way, then week 15, you would be completely finished, and I would want you to submit your population report, your specialized population report, by that Wednesday, 4/24, by midnight. If you need a little bit longer, that's fine, but I think I made it on Wednesday to kind of push you to finish up so that you would be free to start studying for the exam. I just posted the exam date, and you'll see that in the announcements as far as your specific section, the time, and the date for your final exam. Final exam is much like the exams that you've been taking. There are 100 questions. It tends to be easier than the regular exams because it's the big information. And again, I'll put out a study guide for that as well. So, felt the need to talk to you guys. I hope you enjoyed spring break. If you have any questions, please put them in the course Q&A, or if they're more personal in nature, just send them to me. I'll see you in lab this week.